Hello everybody, NightMan here again. Hopefully I've got my sound settings and everything fixed. I've switched to using a mic on a headset rather than my webcam, so hopefully my voice will sound less like I have a lisp. It sounded like I have a lisp in the last one, which I totally do not. But anyway, I'm going to bringing you guys an analysis of a game of myself, NightMan in the bottom left here, is the Purple Terran versus my brother, DayMan, the Zerg up here in the top right, and this is on Zelnaga Caverns. So basically, we played together a lot, and we both knew each other's playstyle pretty well. I'll just kind of briefly go over what my game plan is for this map in the TVZ matchup. I take a pretty fast expansion here, but you really cannot take it as fast as you would maybe on Lost Temple or any other map really that has an expansion that's even remotely protected. This expansion is just totally exposed. There's an avenue of approach here, here, and you can come back here behind the grass, which is really popular with Zergs because you can run banelings back here, speedlings. A lot of times, a lot of Terrans will put their units kind of up here at the front, and you can run speedlings back here and attack their minerals, and they'll have to manually unsiege or move all their units all the way back here to get at those, and it's just very, very annoying. So really, in my opinion, you need to have siege tech out before you can safely take this expansion. So I definitely do not recommend the whole one racks fast expand on Zerg unless you just know the player you're playing is not aggressive at all. My brother DayMan is generally not aggressive, but sometimes he likes to exploit the fact that I know that he's generally not aggressive and make me pay for that assumption. But we will see whether he actually does that. I'm doing just kind of the basic opening here. 12 racks. I'm going to get gas on 13. And I'm going to get a factory pretty soon after that and start pumping out tanks. And as you can see here, I've decided that I'm going to try and block his hatchery. Generally in this map, he likes to favor going for a 14 hatch or a 15 hatch and then get a pool after that. And yeah, I'm just trying to be as annoying as possible. Unfortunately, I set the little rally points here like this, and I just set it a little bit too wide, and he was able to squeeze in there and throw it in his hatch, which I don't realize, and I'm still milling around like an idiot over here. Just getting at my first Marine. He's got a drone dicking around in my base, which is hyper annoying because a lot of times you can just kind of scout around, and then do a gas steal. And if you have a drone in your base, even if I was planning for it initially, you just cannot do something like 2-port Banshee or a really heavy one-base gas build. Really, in this match, I had planned on opening with a Banshee, just a single Banshee and a Viking, to take out overlords, and then you can transition into kind of traditional mechs, switch your tech lab off your starport and back onto your factory, and then you can siege up, protect your expansion, and just having that one Banshee around is very nice. You get good scouting, and it's just very annoying. It forces the Zerg to do certain things they might not have otherwise done, and it generally kind of throws them off. A lot of times it'll mess up their build order. A nice kind of tactic with the whole gas steal thing, he didn't actually do it. A lot of times those Zerg will build it, cancel it, build it, cancel it, build it, cancel it. And a lot of times when you're in that situation, you have your barracks up here, Terrans will just right-click on the gas being built, and what that'll do is it rallies Marines over there, and once they get in range, they start attacking it. But if you cancel and rebuild it, you actually really have to have at least 3 or 4 Marines to out-DPS the build, the rebuild thing. So if you actually just rally your Marines over here, not actually on the geyser, but next to the geyser, they'll walk all the way up and then attack it. So when he cancels it, you have a much better chance of killing the drone that's on it. It actually helps quite a bit. As you can see here, I've got my Marines down here in the bottom. This is a little bit risky because roaches and that sort of thing can get free shots on Marines, whereas they would be more protected behind a wall. But I like to deny scouting as much as I possibly can, and I know that a lot of Zergs typically put lings out here and they'll just try and run one up your wall, or up to your ramp, to your wall, and you get vision about out to here or so if you get up to the top of that ramp. So it's just kind of, if you can deny them information, that's a good thing. Let's go to the production tab. I'm doing a slight variation. A lot of times I'll do 2 racks factory or 2 factory, 1 racks, but I've decided that I really need to put a little bit more I don't I'm not going to change my basic playstyle, which is very heavy, aggressive macro style that focuses much more on pumping out lots of units and setting up forward positions and expanding a lot than it does trying to attack a lot. I'm just not a big fan of the 2-base timing attack or 1-base all-ins or anything like that. And I feel like using Terran's defensive advantage is a much more sure way of guaranteeing a win than is trying for some kind of timing attack. But at the same time, I don't want to leave the Zerg completely unmolested, because then they'll just sit there and drone up if they know what they're doing, or they can mass expand. So I've decided that I'm going to start trying to get out of Viking pretty much every match, and if you get it out reasonably early, you can get it out before the Medivacs, or before the Mutalisks come out, if that is indeed what the Zerg is doing, and you can really just annoy them. And a lot of times, even if you don't kill a lot of Overlords, they'll pull theirs back to their main base, or their natural where they can be protected by the Queens, which denies them a lot of vision. It's kind of the same theory as behind faking a push. Make them produce units they wouldn't already have, or in this case, force them to reduce their vision, which they wouldn't normally have done without you just pumping out that one Viking, which is just really not that expensive. And if you get lucky, you get a Zerg that doesn't really quite know what they're doing or something like that, you can really cause a lot of damage by supply capping them if you get a couple of Vikings out. Looks like he's breaking down the rocks to take his third over here. I'm just now getting my natural saturated. We're exactly even on harvesters right now. I'm a little bit behind on gas. Actually, a good bit behind gas. He's got both his extractors at his natural up, and I am just now getting my first one. Just gonna go ahead and take his third. Meantime, I've got my second racks up. Got an engineering bay and an armory, getting some ups. And now is about the time that I would plan on seeing Mutas. He does have his Spire down, but it's a late Spire. He's doing the late, much heavier econ Muta build, which I actually really like. You show up with 4 or 5 Mutalisks, it's not a particular problem if you have turrets, maybe a Thor and some Marines or something like that. If you show up with 10 or 12, if you can catch the Terran out of position, you can do a lot of damage, because you can just burn through turrets without significant numbers of them just kind of packed together. It's just very hard to deal with just turrets. So I think that's really a superior way to use mutas than the typical 2-base muta build, which is still better than the old 1-base build that was pretty common. But looks like he's only got 5 out right now. Not sure why he only produced 5. He has the gas to do more, but we'll see what he's going to do with these. I presume he's going to harass. He already killed my little Viking that I had messing around, but as to be expected, Vikings just pretty much suck against light air units, which the Mutalisk is a light air unit. So, let's see here, I'm probably going to expand here in a minute, throwing down some extra racks, my second factory, third racks, and I'm probably going to get tech labs on these in just a minute and start getting upgrades for them. Like I was saying earlier, my whole build revolves around, really it's a map specific build, but because of the architecture of this map, you just have so many avenues of attack here that, in my opinion, the only way for a macro Terran style to do is to try and to win against Zerg is to try and control the avenues of attack as best you can. So instead of taking this expansion here, which means that you have to defend here and over here, and really behind here, a lot of times they'll run around behind you too, I go ahead and push up here and take this gold expansion, which really forces them to attack you basically here, and if they try to counterattack, typically they'll come through here. You can block off this pretty effectively, and if you push up far enough, it's pretty hard for them to run around here. And this really allows you to put pressure on the Zerg pretty quickly, because they'll a lot of times take the gold as well, and this is kind of the center of their territory. So I think it's kind of a good balance between giving you the ability to put pressure on the Zerg, also giving you the econ advantage because you're getting the gold minerals, and reducing the avenues of attack for the Zerg, which is very important, like I said, in this map. He's just doing the typical kind of mutiling baneling, it looks like right now. Getting some roaches mixed in. I feel like that's really not uncharacteristic of that build. Prior to the roach buff in patch 1.1.2, I believe, roaches were just not useful enough in this this kind of composition. But now that they've been buffed pretty strongly, it's just kind of invaluable to have them around. Heard Marines firing. Oh yeah, I just knocked down the rocks here. Really, my build revolves around getting the timing the number of units I feel like I need to safely expand here, because if you expand too early, then you just get kind of run over, which is not good, because this is kind of exposed. It's up here in the front, but I feel like I have enough now. Meanwhile, DayMan here is doing what is essentially the counter to my style of play, which is to abuse the fact that I'm not actually attacking you and just expand all over the place. Hasn't gone hive tech yet, but presumably he will once this infestation pit is done. Does have a pretty significant harvester lead right now, 68 to 53, but I do have the mules. Let's see at the income tab. Yeah, he's beating me pretty significantly, almost by 500 minerals per minute there, and he's up by about 200 gas. But I do have a pretty good position.